The Weasel in Men in Black 3 is a sneaky, vicious little sidekick to Boris the animal, always ready to help him carry out his evil plans. It's an extraterrestrial creature that lives right inside Boris's hand and appears on command to fire deadly quills at anyone who gets in the way. Although it rarely takes center stage, the Weasel is Boris's most important weapon when it comes to bringing down the ArcNet shield, destroying Earth's defenses, and letting the Boglodites feed on the planet's resources. By the time the credits roll, this creepy creature leaves a trail of bodies and plenty of mayhem in its wake. And in this video, we're going to explore everything there is to explore about the Weasel. But before I begin, please consider subscribing to us. It may be a small click for you, but for us, it helps a lot. And now, let's begin. Plotting for revenge. According to the story, the Weasel plays a big part in an incident back in 1969 when Boris tries to sabotage Agent K's effort to install the ArcNet shield on the Apollo 11 rocket. The shield's function is to protect Earth from the Boglodites, a parasitic race that devours everything in sight. Once K sets up the shield, Boris loses his arm and ends up locked away in Lunar Max prison. Meanwhile, the Weasel manages to slip through the cracks, going underground for decades. Boris rots in a high-security jail, while the Weasel survives on the outside, waiting to rejoin its master for another shot at vengeance. In 2012, the Weasel resurfaces when Lily smuggles it into Lunar Max to bust Boris out of prison. Once inside, it quickly does the dirty work of killing a couple of guards, then slithers back to Boris, who finishes the job by slaughtering the rest of the guards, plus Lily and an inmate named Obadiah Price. The Weasel doesn't talk, obviously, but you get the sense that it's wholeheartedly loyal to Boris. It lurks in his hand, ready to spring out and fire its quills at any target he chooses. Their next step is to head to Earth, where Boris aims to travel back in time to kill Agent K before the ArcNet can block the Boglodites. He wants to erase that humiliating moment of losing his arm and also bring back his species from near extinction. The Weasel tags along, full of lethal devotion, as they slip into 1969. There, the younger versions of Boris and the Weasel team up with their older selves, hoping to annihilate K, steal the ArcNet from Griffin, and ensure the Boglodites' victory. Things get tense when the Weasel attempts to snatch a box containing the ArcNet shield from Griffin. K and J interrupt, so the Weasel and Boris escape, only to realize the box is empty. The real ArcNet is still in play, and the only way to thwart K from installing it on the Apollo 11 rocket is to face him head-on at Cape Canaveral. That's where the film's climax explodes into chaos. The two Borises and their Weasels try to stop the agents from launching the ArcNet into orbit. The older Boris tangles with J, while the younger Boris faces K. We see the Weasel bristling with quills, waiting for Boris's signal to strike. Each quill has bullet-like force, enough to slice through armor and cause instant death.
That was you.
Death. During the confrontation, Jay distracts the older Boris by using a nickname, which enrages the alien. Boris commands the Weasel to fire, hitting Jay with multiple quills. Jay manages to fling himself, Boris, and the Weasel off the towering platform. Then he time jumps again, this time prepared for the quills. He dodges every shot, leaving the elder Boris in complete shock. That gives him the opening to slam Boris and the Weasel over the edge once more. Meanwhile, K blasts the younger Boris's arm with liquid nitrogen, then shatters it in revenge for the earlier attack that took Boris's arm in 1969. With the ArcNet now attached to the rocket, the elder Boris and his Weasel get fried by the rocket's exhaust. The younger Boris tries one last trick by ordering his Weasel to spike K, but Colonel Edwards, Jay's father, steps in and takes the spike himself. K then kills Boris and the Weasel, wiping them from history and ending the Boglodites' threat for good. It's a vicious demise, but it fits the horrifying nature of this critter.
Let's agree to disagree.
How was the creature brought to life? Behind the scenes, the Weasel was brought to life with an elaborate blend of practical makeup and digital effects. Rick Baker designed a physical prop to show how the creature might fit into Boris's hand. The visual effects artists at Imageworks took countless photos under different lighting conditions to replicate every detail. They created a full 3D model of the Weasel, painting it with textures that mimicked specularity, translucency, and that wet shine you see on real amphibians or or reptiles. Subtle shading and fine details, like tiny cracks and wrinkles, made the quills look extra menacing in close-ups. Once the digital Weasel was ready, animators tested different movements and expressions, figuring out how fast or slow it should launch its quills. Director Barry Sonnenfeld saw the potential in giving the creature a personality. It's not just a dumb weapon. Instead, it shares a bond with Boris, hinted at through little expressions such as shifting eyes, slight breathing motions, and the occasional tilt of its head. These touches give the Weasel a weirdly lifelike vibe, letting it become more than just a CGI monster. To merge it seamlessly with the live-action footage, the team performed precise match moves, replaced or enhanced physical props, and even added digital metal cuffs or restraints. Using HDR lighting techniques, they matched the reflections bouncing off the Weasel and any metal surfaces in the scene, so it looked as if the creature truly lived in Boris's hand. They also scanned Rick Baker's prosthetic hand for moments when the Weasel burrows inside Boris's flesh. That hand was digitally recreated and animated so that the Weasel could slide in and out realistically. Every stage balanced the line between "this looks cuddly" and "this is absolutely terrifying," with final touches like moist eyes and subtle breathing giving the Weasel a freaky sense of realism that still creeps people out.
But first, I wanted the pleasure of killing you.
Your cat!
Marvelous verdict. By the end of Men in Black 3, the Weasel becomes a lethal entity in its own right, something that's always ready to defend Boris, kill random victims, and serve the Boglodites' grand plan. It operates as an extension of Boris's own fury, and appears from his palm to deliver deadly spikes without warning. Even though it never speaks, you sense a grim loyalty and a savage glee whenever it strikes. That personality emerges in its expression: slightly wide eyes, quick glances that read the scene, and a readiness to lash out. The creature is no simple puppet, even if it stays silent. The film invests enough detail to make us squirm at the thought of it lurking under Boris's skin. What makes the Weasel so memorable is the fact that it is both horrifyingly visual and has an intangible closeness to its master. It's a true sidekick, attached at the wrist, waiting for a nod to unleash death. The notion that it's basically living inside a man's arm gives it a skin-crawling vibe, as if it's part parasite, part pet, and part living weapon. It helps that the animators took the time to give it a bit of an emotional spark. We see that in fleeting moments when it eyes Boris, as if checking for approval, or breathes in anticipation as he lines up a shot. That minimal expression is enough to suggest the Weasel has its own instincts, even if those instincts revolve around violence. Thanks to the final battle's time travel shenanigan, both Boris and the Weasel end up eradicated. The younger version dies on the launch pad, while the older version gets charbroiled by the rocket engines. With them gone, the Boglodites can't invade, and Earth remains safe. It's a grim finale for the little nightmare, but it's also fitting. The Weasel's entire existence revolves around destruction. Once K and J seal the ArcNet's success, the Weasel has no role to play except to vanish into the ashes of that alternate timeline. Yet, it leaves behind an unforgettable impression as one of the weirdest and most unsettling sidekicks in the Men in Black universe. Creepy, cunning, and forever etched into the nightmares of anyone who sees it slither out of Boris's hand. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.